On the day I turned 75, I expected warmth, maybe a kind word, perhaps a hug. Instead, my son shouted across a room full of guests, "Everyone is sick of you. Get out." Moments earlier, his wife had taken the birthday cake I'd baked with love and thrown it onto the floor. But what happened next left everyone frozen in shock, and by the next morning, my son's perfect life had collapsed. Hello, dear listeners. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next story. And tell me in the comments where you're listening from. It always touches my heart to know how far my words travel. This morning I woke up 75. The number felt solid, round like a milestone carved into an ancient tree. When I looked into the mirror, it stared back from the soft lines on my face. The silver in my hair. Was I frightened? No. I felt a strange calmness, a quiet curiosity. Is this truly me? Has all of this really happened? My small two-bedroom apartment smelled of brown sugar and spice. I had been up since dawn baking my sweet potato pound cake, the one my mother taught me to make. I baked it when I married my husband, Jabari. I baked it for my son Keon's birthdays. And before he left for boot camp, the scent always meant love, safety, home. My fingers brushed the worn kitchen table, dotted with years of tiny scratches. I remembered Jabari fixing an old iron on its surface, and little Keon building towers of wooden blocks. Today, only flour and a rolling pin sat there. My hands weren't as fast as they once were, but the dough felt warm, familiar, responsive beneath my palms. Thoughts drifted through my mind like leaves. Keon had called yesterday, saying his car needed an urgent repair. "Mom, please, I really need the money." And of course, I gave him almost my entire Social Security check. I told myself as always that mothers keep helping their children, even when their children are nearly 50. Even if it leaves you with just a few wrinkled bills until next month. I could live on rice and beans, as long as they were safe and happy. When the cakes went into the oven, my apartment filled with comfort. I glanced at the photo on my wall, Jabari and me, young, smiling, standing beside the lake house we were building with our own hands. He dreamed we would grow old there, plant rows, raise grandchildren. He died too soon, and I raised Keon alone. I was a senior design engineer back then. I had plans, projects, travel, a cruise on the Great Lakes. I gave it all up for Keon, telling myself that was my duty. My entire life, every hope, every dream was poured into him. And now that boy, almost 50, still expected a sweet potato pound cake from his mother. We agreed to celebrate at the lake house. Serafina, my daughter-in-law, insisted. She said my apartment was too cramped and outdated. She didn't even look at me when she said it. Keon nodded along quietly. He didn't argue. The lake house had once been mine, Jabari's and mine. But Keon and Serafina had lived there for 15 years, remodeling everything. They cut down the maple trees Jabari planted. "Domessu," Chet said. Nothing of him remained. Guests arrived around 3. Earlier that morning, I had brought groceries by taxi and spent hours preparing food. Serafina greeted everyone looking beautiful, elegant, and slightly irritated. "Why don't you finish the cheese board and keep the dishes warm, Mrs. Okoro?" she told me. So I went to the kitchen, my birthday turning into another day of unpaid labor. Guests laughed and drank while I sliced cheese, arranged platters, washed dishes, and cleared plates. No one offered me a seat. I sat on the edge of a chair once, but the conversation quickly drifted to vacations and luxury resorts. When I tried to share a small memory about a pine tree Jabari and his friend Elias had planted, Serafina cut me off, embarrassed by anything old-fashioned. My stories, like me, were unwelcome. Then came the moment for the cake, my labor of love. I set it gently on the table, hoping for just a little acknowledgement. Instead, Serafina scoffed loudly. "Why would you bring that? We already have a proper cake from a real bakery. No one's eating this sad homemade thing." The room fell silent. My heart stalled. Only Elias defended me. Now, Imani's cake is tradition. I'll take 2 slices." The word tradition struck Serafina like an insult in front of her sophisticated friends. She snapped. She seized my cake platter and with a flick of her wrist dumped the cake straight into the trash bin. Tradition belongs in a museum, she said coldly. The wet thud of the cake hitting the bottom of the trash echoed through the room. Everyone stared at me. I stared at my son. He rose slowly, face twisted with humiliation and anger. And instead of defending me, he pointed at me and shouted, "Look what you've done! You embarrassed us. Everyone is tired of you. Just leave. Go!" Something inside me didn't shatter, it simply stopped existing. A quiet clarity washed over me. The part of me that waited, hoped, forgave gone. I looked at my son and realized, this is no longer my cake. This is no longer my home. This is no longer my burden. I nodded once. Agreed. I picked up my coat and purse and walked out. The click of the door behind me felt like the final period of a 50-year sentence. On the bus ride home, memories rearranged themselves like files in an accountant's cabinet. Not as complaints, just facts. Fact 1. My gold pendant, a gift from Jabari, had gone missing and later reappeared around Serafina's neck in a vacation photo. She lied about it. I said nothing. Fact 2. The money I had given them over the years, savings for emergencies, down payments, tutoring. They traveled, vacationed, lived comfortably. I lived frugally, always telling myself, the important thing is that they're okay. Fact 3. They erased me, slowly moving my photos, breaking my favorite mug, calling me Mrs. Okoro instead of Mom. My presence was an inconvenience, not a blessing. That night I slept deeply for the first time in decades. The next morning, sunlight felt different, brighter, freer. I opened the old folder of documents, and there it was. The deed to the lake house. Sole owner, Imani Sadia Okoro. Me. I called a real estate agency. Calm, steady, firm. I want to list the lake house for urgent sale. Then I called my only true friend, Desta. I told her everything. She sighed with relief. Finally, she said. Now listen. They'll scream, cry, guilt trip you. Don't respond. Let that for sale sign speak for you. And so I waited, in peaceful silence. 3 days later, their calls began. I let them ring. That evening, they arrived and unlocked my door with their spare key, walking into my home as if it were theirs. That alone confirmed their entitlement. Serafina stormed in, ranting. Kian followed with soft, manipulative pleas. Mom, why are you doing this? Where will we go? I let them finish. Then I set down my knitting and said clearly, this is not your home. It is mine. You have lived here free for 15 years. You asked me to leave your house, and so now I am leaving completely. And everything connected to me leaves with me. Their faces drained of color. You have 30 days to move, I said. The agent already has instructions. They left defeated, devastated. Their illusion of control shattered. Weeks passed. I ignored all calls. Desta later told me they had moved into a shabby rental and were struggling to find work. I felt no spite, just inevitability. They had cut themselves off from the tree that fed them. The lake house sold quickly. The money, more than I had ever seen, felt like the return of every sacrifice I had made. Not joy, but justice. I bought myself a hearing aid. For the first time in years, I heard birds, leaves, life. I wept not from grief, but rediscovery. I bought a royal blue coat. Impractical, beautiful. When I put it on, I felt like a woman, not a burden. And then I finally took the trip Jabari, and I had once dreamed of. A Great Lakes cruise to Mackinac Island. Before leaving, I enrolled in a textile design course at the community college. Creation called me back to life. Now I stand on the deck of a gleaming ship, wind brushing my scarf, the blue water stretching endlessly. I open my sketchbook and draw the movement of the waves. No anger remains. No resentment. Only peace, deep, vast, steady. For 75 years, my world revolved around sacrifice. They threw away everything I gave them as carelessly as they tossed that cake. But instead of rebuilding the ruins, I walked away and began anew. And this new life, this calm, beautiful life is entirely mine. Thank you for listening to the very end. If this story touched you, please like and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories. Be well.